I feel like right now what we're seeing around the country, which is crazy for this to happen right now, is a splitting between what the Dems are going to do. Right? It's either going to be action or inaction. And there's some that are not doing shit, and there are some that are actually out here doing stuff. And this just kind of adds fuel to that fire. I feel like we're more united on this issue, which we need to be. But getting into that, right? All of this shit happens, right? So what the fuck do we do in response? What does the left do in response? What does the Democrats do in response? Along with pressing this, we have to make some very smart choices. So right after the last episode, when we talked about the whole shit with Chuck Schumer and the vote and everything, right? Chuck Schumer had a book tour that he had scheduled or whatever. He canceled that because he was safety, and he's been going on like a defense tour. Pretty much, he went on like The View. He's been going on other stuff, putting up the same defense about I had to vote with the Republicans. I had to kowtow to the same people who just leaked
the bomb details.
Real
insane, mind you. Cool.
Okay, Chuck.
All right, Chuck. And then and then we touched on the historically low approval rating of the Democrats right now. So now we've been given this gift, right? And there seems to be the gift universe, and there seems to be people who are still keen on fucking this up. So you had the Schumer angle where you're trying to like, oh, we had the XYZ. Then we have Gavin Newsom, right? Gavin Newsom is the governor of California, and people have been speculating that he's going to run for president in 2028, right? So he started a podcast, right? Probably keep his name in the news, like, try to engage, right? Originally, I was like, oh, Gavin Newsom got a podcast because he went and he debated Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, and he was running circles around that man. He had the numbers on hand. He was calling him out on every lie. I'm like, oh, so he's finna go on an arc where he like battles
villain arc.
Yeah. Would you believe?
What the fuck are we doing, guys?
Would you believe me when I say I was let the fuck down? So he launched a podcast. It's called This Is Gavin Newsom, and his first 3 guests were Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, and Michael Savage.
That makes sense.
I didn't even know who Steve Bannon was.
Charlie Kirk. Y'all know Charlie Kirk, the one who was like, if I go in,
Mr. Gums himself.
If I see a black woman pilot, I'm gonna be afraid. He said that like word for word.
He spends his free time arguing with children.
You want to know what he did?
What did he do?
He dick sucked them. He basically was there and he was like, yeah, my kid watches you, and how do we?
He did.
How do we learn?
Wow.
Loves you,
my
man.
13-year-old. You're admitting that your son loves watching Charlie Kirk, and you're not having a problem with this?
Nuts.
What are you doing in your house?
Mind you, you're the governor of California. Nuts.
Yeah, they already look at you as a left-wing, like leftist lunatic, but I guess he's trying to shed that veneer in favor of clicking up with the fascists. So Charlie Kirk's on there. He doesn't pressure him on nothing, right? Steve Bannon. A lot of y'all might not know who Steve Bannon is.
Bro.
Steve Bannon, right, was originally he was the chairman of Breitbart News. He was like the leader of that organization, which is a right-wing disinformation shit. They had Milo Yiannopoulos as one of the key writers. He's the nigga who headed Kanye West's campaign, and he's like a Nazi with Nick Fuentes, all them. Yes. So he was working under Steve Bannon. And Trump appointed him as his like chief strategist in his first administration. You want to know who really liked that pick? David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Oh my God.
Yes. He called Bannon's appointment excellent.
Oh,
that's who he had on.
yo.
This is cyber.
He also went to jail because he failed to comply with the House subpoena on the January 6th investigation. Because they deemed that he had pretty important information to like when they tried to overthrow the government, and he just did not comply with the subpoena, so they sent him to jail. He only got out because Trump won and he pardoned him.
Trump pardoned him?
Yes.
Bro, that's ridiculous.
Yes, right? He had him on there, right? And then a lot of you might not know who Michael Savage is, because I didn't know who Michael Savage was. Can we play the clip on who is Michael Savage? Because shout out to Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske. He basically distilled it. This is all you need to know about Michael Savage.
A lot of you were probably too young to remember who Michael Savage is. He was one of the biggest radio hosts in the country during like the Rush Limbaugh era, the Sean Hannity era, late 90s, early 2000s, right? Here's what you need to know about Michael Savage. He was banned from the United Kingdom for his extremism. He said, quote, I was very disappointed in Trump attacking white supremacy. He said trans healthcare, quote, should be outlawed. He said Bernie and Hillary are communists, and then he used the famous quote of, first they came for the rich people and I said nothing, to try to go after Bernie and Hillary. He said put down BLM protesters like feral dogs. He compared Obama to Hitler and said Obama is doing white genocide. He mocked PTSD and depression, implying it wasn't real. He called Obama, quote, the new leader of the caliphate. He said Obama is spreading Ebola virus on purpose. He said Trump saved white kids from slavery. He defended torture. He calls left-wingers vermins. He talked about wanting to reach for his Glock to shoot lesbians. He said, quote, our children are being destroyed by gay marriage. He said, quote, the children's minds are being raped by the homosexual mafia. He said white people are the only people that don't vote based on race. He says autism is a fraud, a racket, a brat who hasn't been told to cut the act out in 99% of cases. He said, quote, we have to go to war with Iran. He said, quote, our freedoms are choking us to death. He got fired from MSNBC because he screamed at a guy to, quote, get AIDS and die. And then finally, his most controversial of all this, controversial is one way of describing it. He said we should kill 100 million Muslims. This is who Gavin Newsom had on his podcast with. And this is who he had on his podcast, and this is who he played fucking patty cakes with.
These are his
the governor of California.
The governor of California put these 3 individuals on his first 3 episodes of this podcast and did not push back at all. Just let them.
Any of those talking points, he didn't bring anything up.
And I
No,
understand. And I understand. There's a lot of people that might be like, "Oh, you know, the problem with the left is they don't see both sides." Look me dead in the face, and maybe okay, Steve Bannon, fucking Charlie Kirk. That's
Michael
that's
Thatch.
the person that we should be having a heart-to-heart
Yeah,
with.
What happens
because
is,
how?
bro,
I'm not seeing
why?
that
a
style.
For
lot of
fucking
people,
what?
bro, for what? And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you need to hear the other talking point. You need to like have, like you said, both sides." I think the problem with having both sides is it almost damn near excuses like that whole thing.
Yes.
Because now you're promoting this person who
And the
just said
thing
you
is,
should kill
That's like
Muslims.
saying you'd
have
that's like
no-
saying you'd have a productive conversation between Fred Hampton and the fucking KKK wizards.
Yeah.
Just fucking-
That's like if we had
that would be
that's like if we had a
productive.
productive conversation with Kanye West. Right? No, he's going to, bro. You know he's
And I feel like, right, the issue is someone strategically was like, you know, they're going to call you a left SJW XYZ. No matter what, they called Barack Obama a communist. So I have no problem with you talking to these people if you're going to fight them.
Yeah.
Because they're just wrong and lying on everything. And you coddling up and not pushing back on them is you ceding ground to them. You think anyone's leaving this interaction being like, I'm gonna vote for that Gavin Newsom. If you're watching Michael Savage, you're not voting for Gavin Newsom, no matter how much Gavin
Never
Newsom
in
wants
a
to
million
understand
fucking
your
you know what it
perspective.
is?
I guarantee you, all those supporters of those 3 people went to his podcast to watch them
fucked.
slam
The entire
on
time,
Gavin
the entire
Newsom.
time, like Charlie Kirk especially was taking like pot shots at him, like trying to get him to condemn, like they're doing trans healthcare on migrants. And do you condemn that? Basically throwing out all the right wing talking points because he's media trained to do exactly that. And Gavin Newsom's like, yeah, you know, yeah, I mean, we do have to work a little bit on that. What are you talking about? He said we should put down BLM protesters like rabid dogs. There is no middle ground between that.
There's not.
There's no, as a person who should be running for president, your goal is to try to get the people who are more left wing, who don't give a fuck about politics. There are so many people who don't vote.
not
Yeah.
turn over the fucking KKK.
Yeah. No, they're not going to come to you. No.
Imagine-
It don't matter what you
No matter
say.
how many times Pootie go up to fucking Zinc, nigga.
Imagine this,
don't
right?
matter,
Like,
nigga.
because I'm not that, like, I didn't know who he was. So imagine I see a clip of that. I have no idea who he is, and he says, like, a good talk about. I'm like, damn, he said some cool shit. And then I see this, he's talking about wanting to kill Muslims.
Yeah.
Now imagine that for the average person who is.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who
That's, like,
doesn't know
very
them.
dangerous,
You're
bro.
platforming that.
So he had Tim Walz on. I don't think we'll have time to watch the clip, but he had Tim Walz on, and he basically pushed back on Tim Walz more than like
Yo, you
anyone
pushed
else.
back on
because
Tim.
Tim Walz is basically sitting there like, yo, these guys are like horrible people.
In the
right?
nicest way.
Yes.
I love Tim Walz.
Yeah,
The
he's
nigga's
like, these guys are
Hey.
horrible people. Maybe we should. It's misogyny. It's racism. Like, I don't know how we message that or get them. And he's like, you know, we have to understand these people. We have to like figure out where they're coming from. They
Figure
are
out where a
lying.
nigga that said,
This-
I want 100 million Muslims
You
gone.
want to know what he did?
You want to understand him.
You want to know what he did? He made a comparison between like Steve Bannon and Bernie Sanders
Kill you.
because he's like
I almost said something terrible.
Yo, he was like
I
second.
almost said something
He
that I
made-
couldn't take back.
He made a comparison between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump because he's no Bernie Sanders and Steve Bannon because he's like Steve Bannon.
no
He
way.
says Steve Bannon says a lot of stuff Bernie says, you know, about like being anti the oligarchy, anti the billionaires. He was in Trump's first administration. They cut taxes for billionaires. He didn't say shit the entire time. He got out. The current Trump cabinet, his net worth is $11.8 billion without Elon Musk. Jesus. And he is, yeah, we like Trump. He does not give a fuck. You want to know what Steve Bannon is? He's a liar who understands that there are people out there who don't like the rich people, who don't like the oligarchy. So he acts like he's that, and then he goes and clicks up right with them. He's a liar. He's been a liar. And Gavin Newsom is sitting there acting like he's earnest, just like Bernie Sanders. The difference is Bernie Sanders has been saying the same shit for 50
fucking years.
And
No, I
still
remember-
been
I
around.
saw a clip
him,
of that
like,
nigga.
in a-
Nigga, the shit was like, nah, it wasn't black and white, but you know, like when it has the
60s and the
dots on
70s.
it.
Was he in a lecture?
Huh?
Was he in a
Yeah,
lecture?
the nigga-
Yeah, it was a lecture.
Bro, I was like, shit. I was like, I didn't even know he got that young nigga. Like,
Yep.
fuck. Like,
So basically what we're doing is we're like actively normalizing these people because you're trying to like curry favor.
No, they need to be
let me
banished to the shadow
I'm going to
realm.
go on the record right now. If Gavin Newsom is the nominee doing that shit, y'all will lose again.
Yeah,
Because you keep. I remember Kamala tried to implement a similar strategy where towards the end of the campaign she was running around with Liz Cheney, who basically did the January 6th investigation, but she's a Republican, so just trying to do the Republicans for Kamala. They don't like you, and they're showing that the way that they're gutting
don't
the
know
government,
why.
the way that they're bombing
I don't
countries.
know why.
let's think about it. Let's think about it. In total, right? Just a rough estimate. Let's say 150 million people vote. There's damn near 400 million in the United States, right?
Yeah.
That means you could at least pull on, I'm just throwing fucking numbers around. You could at least try to pull at least, let's just say 50 million people. You win every fucking election.
Yeah.
Why are we
giving
catering to the 77 million that voted
already
for the
chose.
fucking right?
They
Why?
saw the
Why are
first
you
Trump
trying to? No, that's what I was.
Why are
thinking,
you
'cause
trying to flip
the whole
them?
time he's saying that, I'm like, why are you trying to convert these people? They don't give a fuck.
They don't. They don't give a fuck.
They will never. And they saw the first Trump administration, and then they voted again for. Maybe you can say, yeah, those people, we shouldn't. Maybe they're not a priority this time. Let's see what other people who don't even give a fuck about politics, what they want. Oh, y'all want
Exactly.
universal health care? Or y'all want
We got that.
college
Oh, you want?
covered?
You
we
think
got
that's what
that.
Trump was
Yeah.
doing? Trump didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Trump's whole goal is trying to get non-college educated white people to vote, and he did that very successfully, which is why he's trying to cut the Department of Education.
Fucking
Right.
bang.
Bang! Like, and you're over here trying to
Rebound boss.
like won't go. So this is in my opinion, completely shit strategy, and it showed because they did a survey of 1,000 California voters, constructed by Capital Weekly, and they found that 26% of the 26% said their view of Gavin Newsom worsened after hearing clips from the Charlie Kirk.
Insane.
Price
You just
and
fucked
Hatter.
up your whole
So
shit.
his popularity is like decreasing now because everyone wants their politicians to fight right now, not to give Charlie Kirk a megaphone to
Another
shit
platform.
on you while
Right.
you talk about.
And now he
my
beco-
son loves you.
And then he
And now
made-
he becomes bigger.
literally, and then he made that comparison with Bernie Sanders, bro. What just happened
Like,
with Bernie
what?
Sanders?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Bernie Sanders and on the action side, on people who aren't doing this bullshit, trying to like convert people who don't fucking like you. Republicans and Democrats alike have been getting like hassled at their town halls. Democrats for voting with fucking Elon and Trump and them on that bill that just passed, and Republicans for existing and defending all this shit. So in response, Tim Walz has been going on a town hall tour in like Trump districts or whatever and getting people out to be like, yo, I know y'all see this shit and it's crazy. And AOC and Bernie have also been going on a fighting oligarchy tour around the country. So the progressives are like kind of stepping up. They went to Civic Center Park in Denver, and it was 34,000 people that gathered. Mind you,
Damn.
this is the biggest crowd Bernie has had for anything. He ran for president twice. He didn't have a
shit.
bigger crowd than this. And also, it is an off year.
I was going to say, also,
It's-
we're in
it's-
an off year.
It's not an election.
Pulling 34,000 in an off
Wait,
year. is
y'all gotta.
nuts.
We gotta.
No, you
deep this.
actually
nigga.
30,000.
Nigga.
This is an all
Yes.
This is an
I ain't gonna lie,
off
bro.
like
If I'm
year
a
34. Like if
Never
this
mind. I don't
doesn't
even
send a
wanna get
message
into
to
it.
all Democrats, like bro,
Yes.
this is
Speaking
something
of-
that we need.
Speaking of
bro.
the messaging to all Democrats, Axios, they published an article and they were talking about how the Democrat like reaction is. They said an official was like, any Democratic incumbent who thinks that they can rest on their laurels and not show their constituents that they're fighting like hell is making a mistake. That was Representative Jared Huffman from California. He's a Democrat. And apparently a senior House Democrat, they spoke anonymously because they didn't want to get outed, but they said the people who've been voting with Republicans on these bills are the ones who are probably going to get primaried, and they received a call from a colleague after a town hall crying, and they were saying, they hate us. Yeah.
damn.
It's getting,
Oh, I'm so
it's getting
happy.
wicked.
Let's
It's
go.
getting,
Very
it's
good.
getting
Love that
wicked
shit,
because
bro.
people
Yes,
are
sir.
like,
It's the
starting
best
to be-
political
it's-
news I've heard in
Yeah.
In a
weeks,
minute, bro. And
Yes.
especially like with Bernie going through the shit he's been through, it's the fact that he's still trying,
Yeah.
and it's an off year for
Bro,
the Dems.
Bernie's
It's like
in
you're
his
still
damn
going.
near 80s,
He's
right?
old as
Still healthy, kicking. He like
Going
83.
crazy.
thinking about?
Crazy, man.
And like you said, bro,
Bernie, come to the jam.
to the jam, bro. Fuck him, bro.
I mean, sir.
And it's so crazy. Like he's talking about the same shit he was talking about back then, and he's still going. And you're old, like you don't have to do this, especially
He
now,
really
bro.
cares,
And he really cares. He's
He
cared
really
his entire
gives a fuck,
career.
bro.
And I feel like this is a very pivotal.
Hey, nah, yo, sticker.
Oh
Your
shit!
sticker.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
fucking bad.
It's a very pivotal moment, and this was back in
this was back in
2020
yeah.
when I was in school in high school. Y'all niggas ain't bullshit.
Bro, the reason I even found out and was like heavy into Bernie was because of him. He kept letting me know. He was like, yo, like this.
Yeah, so this is a very pivotal time. We could be having our own Tea Party moment, which is basically like back in 2010. No, not that.
Oh,
It
I
was,
thought you
they
talking
named it
Boston
after
Tea
that.
Party,
Though.
yeah.
The Republicans in 2010, like a bunch of rich people, like funded it and backed it, but basically they like got a bunch of Republicans to be like, all right, we're like where they are now. Pretty much started with the Tea Party, where they're like, all right, we need these lower taxes. Y'all niggas bullshit, and Obama just won 60 seats. Let's get this shit the fuck out of here. And then they started that,
funding
and then now we're
we
just
need
slow. So
this,
this is kind of like
that.
That's what I
This
was
is like the
going to
first
bring that
one.
up. I was like, this is when we need like the billionaires that every 4 years come out, Bron, and come out and say, hey,
it's
guys,
actually getting real crazy that
Hey,
y'all not
guys,
talking about this right now.
vote blue, guys. They come out right before the election. All the billionaires, all the celebrities. Hey guys, let's vote this.
Yeah.
This is when we need y'all niggas to start throwing millions at these campaigns.
Speaking
at
of
Bernie,
throwing
at AOC,
millions,
like this is what we need.
Speaking of throwing millions, let's talk about what you can do at home, right? Because I know it can seem like stressful, and we're also at a very pivotal moment. You need to call representatives if you can. Call your representatives and let them know that you want people to like fight. You want people who are going to fight. Keep pressure on them and on Schumer and everyone in Democratic leadership to let us know we're not letting this shit go, especially after the incompetency we just saw today and yesterday. Stay informed. And the reason why I say that and about pouring millions into it, there's a Wisconsin Supreme Court race happening on April 1st right now. And Elon Musk has poured over $10 million into getting the Republican candidate for this to win. Do you know why he's done that? Take a guess. I'm not even going to let you guess because whatever you're going to say, you don't get it. In 2020, this court, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, rejected Trump's attempts to overturn his election loss in the battleground state in a 4-3 ruling. It was 4-3. That ruling, that case sought to have 221,000 ballots disqualified in the state's two most Democratic areas. They were legit trying to just throw out
fucking 200,000.
swing the election to him, and they would have if they didn't lose by one vote on the
That's
Supreme Court.
nuts.
Damn.
So they really want to win this.
So they really want to get the liberal justice who's up for re-election out of there and get her in. And he spent over $10 million to ensure that this has happened. That money has been poured into Brad Schiemel's campaign, and they're trying to get rid of Judge Susan Crawford. If you're in Wisconsin, make sure you make a plan to vote on April 1st. I think they have same-day registration as well. Yeah. So do it. Because this is literally, they're trying to pour in all these money into these campaigns, unlike, some of the billionaires with left-wing sentiments that could be doing the same thing. They're trying to pour in all this money because they understand that if they win this court, they're going to get to gerrymander the fuck out of that state. They could throw out a lot of their election stuff, and that justice who they're giving all the money to has, or the candidate has said that they're gonna Trump's agenda, basically like a MAGA nigga.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
So if he wins, it gets really fucking scary in that state. So
Shit.
I think
that's what we need.
Wisconsin, bro. We need y'all to pop out Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Word
gotta
too.
vote, bro.
Tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your grandma, tell your the neighbor dog and shit. Yeah.
Brad Schemel. It's supposed to be a nonpartisan race, but Brad Schemel is the one that Elon is trying to handpick to win, and Susan Crawford is the one that they really don't want to win. Do with that information what you will.
their biggest downfall is like, I think because you see Trump and you see the shit he does, I think to them it's like, oh, we can really get away with anything. So they get comfortable. So then dumb shit like that happens.
Yep. I don't.
And then
know.
it's just gonna keep happening.
The reason why that's so terrifying is because, well, not only are they just outwardly trying to buy this shit or whatever, but now we have information that they're using text message channel that's specifically like designed to be discreet and off the record to discuss specific bombing plans. What else could they be?
Not only that, you're not taking it serious.
Yes.
This is game news.
So with that being said, the other thing that you could do if you really want to is subscribe to the Jam.
You could.
Because you get all this
Subscribe to the
information
Jam.
on a platter if you really don't got the time to look up.
Fuck
the
Batman
website.
for young black men, nigga. You know the
Batman.
deal.
Fuck
Block
Batman. Fuck
it.
Elon Musk.